Welcome aboard to podcast 36 in the series of the Voyage to back Yonder. In the last episode, we discovered that the pirates that seemed to be stealing things from us, like our joy and our peace and our worth, turned out to be ourselves. Oh no! Well, really, our thoughts, our conditional love laws about the should be, are the pirates. We also talked about the bypass code that helps us access these unconditional love laws to allow them to fall away from us. And that code is by questioning our beliefs about the should be. I mentioned that over the next few episodes, I'd like to share a questioning process that has been a life changer for me. It's called The Work, and it was created by an amazing lady, Byron Katie. She provides instructional videos and materials on our website at thework.com on how you complete this Judge Your Neighbor worksheet that we'll be going over. And they're offered all for free at her website. What a gift. There are also many YouTube videos available where she's worked through the worksheet with others on stage. And they're hilarious and amazing. And I feel like I might share some video links on my social media through the next few weeks as well, because they're so helpful. What I thought I would do is kind of pick one emotion, step through the process of doing the worksheet around it, because it helped me to hear an example of someone going through the worksheet. It also showed me that there's really no new emotions or stories. Chances are we've each felt a similar emotion ourselves. The story just might be a little different. And there is some comfort in that for me, knowing that I'm not as strange as I thought I was. Because I want to keep these podcasts normally to around 10 minutes, it'll take a few episodes to cover one worksheet. This one may be a little longer as I'm providing a little bit of foundation on the worksheet process itself. So to get started, one of the most important things I realized in filling the worksheet out is that letting the fear ego share its opinion around the stressful situation is the most beneficial. In fact, the more honest I am in putting the feelings down on paper, no matter how crass or harsh it seems, it allows me to find the greatest turnarounds for myself. Freedom seems to come faster in a situation when I do that. Plus, we normally can keep the worksheets to ourselves, maybe even destroy them afterward if we're afraid that it would hurt someone's feelings if they found it. But because this is a public podcast, I won't name real names. Because we're talking about pirates, I'll use the fake name of Jack, like for Jack Sparrow. So for this process, we won't think about Jack's overall behavior all the time. We'll just kind of focus in on a specific situation that's creating stress within us. And it's a self-reflection process. I take a deep breath, and then I let the fear ego throw up on paper answering the 6 questions. And then I get still, and I come back to the paper and begin the process. I allow my fear ego to share its opinions and feelings with the deal that in questioning the situation, I'm not requiring it to let go of its opinions, but I simply want to look at it. Because these emotions belong to me, and no one can make me get rid of them if I don't want to. So I have nothing to lose. Okay, now, so as I sit here this morning, the stressful thought that I want to look at is about Jack at work and how stressed I become when he complains about every little thing that's happening in his life. He seems like he's always being negative and complaining about the weather, a customer, his past, his future, his present. And even though Jack is a fake name, you probably see him in your mind right now, don't you? And your mind has probably already created a stage of what a workplace looks like, even though many of you don't know where I work or what my surroundings look like at all. Isn't the mind amazing? It starts creating the stories. And I'm sure suddenly, as I share this, you're starting to remember those characters in your life that seem similar to Jack. So if you want to work through a similar situation as I do, that's totally fine as well. In fact, I encourage it. We can laugh and scream and cry together. All right. So first, I'm going to focus on the specific situation, not my entire experience of interacting with Jack. So this specific situation is one day when our team at work was celebrating an awesome achievement. Out of nowhere, Jack complained about hearing thunder and hoping that there wasn't going to be hail and that it would destroy his flowers and his plants outside. So I close my eyes and I sit in that memory for a moment. And then I release my fear ego to start sharing its opinion on paper. Uh-oh. Now, if you're starting your own Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, just pause this podcast for a moment and then fill out the 6 questions and come back. I'll quickly read through the answers to my 6 questions from the worksheet, just to give you some examples of letting the emotions flow, even though our spiritual ego may try to keep us from stating these uncomfortable feelings. We're not supposed to feel this way about people when we're enlightened. In my own self-reflection, I might even go deeper and more crass, but I'll just provide these brief answers for sake of time. So the first question on the worksheet is, in this situation, who angers, confuses, hurts, saddens, or disappoints me, and why? So my answer was, I'm disappointed with Jack because he shouldn't focus on things out of his control and spread negativity in the team. He should be supportive of the team by being happy, upbeat, and keeping negativity to private conversations with friends. Don't you love the fear ego? Number 2, in this situation, how do I want him or her to change? What do I want him or her to do? My answer, I want Jack to be happy. I want him to change his ways and be supportive instead of destructive. Number 3, in this situation, what advice would you offer him or her, like he or she should or shouldn't? Well, Jack shouldn't worry about so much. He should choose to be happy instead of focusing on what he doesn't have. He should be grateful for the many things he has in his life. Number 4, in order for me to be happy in this situation, what do I need him or her to think, say, feel, or do? Well, in this situation, Jack should keep his negativity to himself. He should build up the team instead of bringing it down. Number 5, what do I think of him or her in this situation? Make a list. And even in parentheses, it says it's okay to be petty and judgmental. So let it rip, Jack is selfish and thinks only of himself instead of the impact to the team. Jack makes the situation about himself and seeks attention. Jack is a victim. And the last question, number 6. What is it about this person and situation that I don't ever want to experience again? I don't ever want to feel the negativity and poor me victim attitude coming from Jack. Whew! The fear ego feels good and riled up expressing itself, don't it? It actually feels good to get all those emotions out because we tend to keep them to ourselves and kind of push down and bottled up. So when we express it, actually is good to get this out in front of our face. So now that part is done, that's when we begin the process of self-reflection. This is done through 2 steps. It's the 4 questions and the turnarounds. We'll start with the first question on the worksheet and use the 4 question step. So just quickly, the answers to the first two of the four questions in this step is always a simple yes or no. Our fear ego will try to explain its answers, but that takes us out of self-reflection and back into the fear ego world. So try to just answer sincerely with what you feel. There's no right or wrong answer. These are our feelings. So I take the first part of number 1 where I stated I was disappointed in Jack because he shouldn't focus on things out of his control. Question 1 is it true that Jack focuses on things out of his control? Well, immediately my fear ego starts to bring the proof to my mind. And as I answer yes, because it wants to follow. But don't let it. And I don't let it. I just leave my yes be a yes. If I had answered no to this first question, that no, I don't know it's true, then I would just skip to number 3. But I didn't, so we'll go on to number 2. And number 2 is, can I absolutely know that it's true that Jack focuses on things out of his control? In this one, a picture of an X-Men controlling the weather comes to my logical mind when I focus in on the phrase, absolutely no. Because who knows? Maybe he can control the weather. So for this question, I'll answer no. But even if I felt a strong yes still, then I would answer yes, because it's my emotion, and it's neither right or wrong. Then we go on to number 3. And number 3 is, how do I react? What happens to me, my attitude towards the other person, when I believe the thought that in this specific situation, Jack focuses on things out of his control? I just sit in that memory, in that situation. I observe my emotions, my body, my actions. And when I believe the thought that Jack focuses on things out of his control, I feel out of control. I feel the need to fix him, to make him happy, to make him choose to be happy. I provide unsolicited advice on how he can make a different choice. I become defensive. I don't want to become infected with negativity. So you sit in all that emotion. Then I take a deep breath and we move on to the final question on that step, question 4, which for this question, it doesn't ask us to give up our feelings or our thoughts. It just asks us to ponder, who or what would you be without that thought? So without the thought in this specific situation that Jack focuses on things out of his control, without that thought, I would be able to connect with Jack instead of become defensive. I could let Jack be Jack and maybe not even respond to the comment about thunder coming and hail damaging his plants. I could just be, and Jack could just be. I would feel peace. These 4 questions show me that it isn't his actions that are causing my stress, but my thoughts about the situation. Because number 3 shows me how I feel when I believe the thought, and number 4 shows me that I could feel differently when I don't believe the thought. Because when we believe a thought, we can't really choose to act a different way while we're believing it. So then next, we move into the turnarounds. And this is where I mentioned that the most honest I am about sharing my real feelings, the greater the turnaround in freedom that comes to me. And the turnarounds, what we do is we begin to switch the characters around in the situation. And then we can contemplate if that turnaround is true or truer. So instead of stating Jack focuses on things out of his control, I can turn it around and say maybe I focus on things out of my control. And our mind will say, okay, I got it. Move on to the next thing. But truly, it's best to come up with 3 or more examples that support this turnaround, because we give our mind the evidence that supports the truth. I focus on things out of my control. Wow, that is true. In this situation, I was focusing on something out of my control. Jack's choices. I can't control Jack's choices, beliefs, or actions. I can't make him happy or sad, a victim or a hero. That's all up to Jack. Secondly, I was also focusing on the impact of his actions to the team. I can't control that either. Each person of the team has their own choice on how his comments would or would not impact them. I can't control that. And maybe thirdly, I was focusing on trying to impact the weather and protect his plants, which happen to be hundreds of miles away from where I live. Now, I won't confirm or deny that I have the power to impact the weather. But I'll just agree that there were things in protecting his plants that were definitely out of my control. So the turnaround allowed me to see one of the more real sources of my stress. As my mind starts to see the evidence that I cannot be responsible for other people's actions, the beliefs around that start falling away on their own for both this situation and future situations with Jack. It can also start allowing me to see the past differently and interactions with other Jacks in my life. It doesn't take me changing my life. My life starts changing as I begin to question my beliefs. All right, well, we are way over 10 minutes, and I'm trying to keep my podcast too. So next time, we'll continue moving through this worksheet. Till next episode, take some deep breaths. Maybe consider what other turnarounds there might be about Jack shouldn't focus on things out of his control. It could be Jack doesn't complain about things out of his control. How is that true? Jack should focus on things out of his control, as well as maybe I should focus on things out of my control. How could any of those be true? What examples can you come up with? Because in questioning, that is when we find our truth. Enjoy your voyage, Captain. I love you.